What is up, nerds? My name is Steve, and I am the S in SAK Incorporated. That's Steve, Addison, and Kenneth Incorporated. I'm here to do a little intro for our podcast. This is the first edition of the SAK Inc. podcast that we have done, and we think it turned out pretty well. There are some technical difficulties that we had. Mainly, you're going to hear some bumps and clicks throughout. Anytime one of us touches the table, it got picked up by the mic, unfortunately, because the mic was directly on the table. So anytime I did this, or anything, or even rubbed things against the table, you hear it. But we've got a boom mic stand that we're going to be using next week to take care of that problem, so no worries there. If you guys like what you hear today, you can like us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, and you can follow us on Instagram. All of that is SAK Incorporated. You can go to YouTube and search for SAK Incorporated and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would definitely appreciate it. Go ahead and send us feedback via any of those social media channels, or send us an email at sakincpodcast@gmail.com. We want to hear your guys' feedback. We want to hear what you guys have to say about the issues we're talking about and just what your stances are. And any questions you have for us or any feedback you want to give us, like, oh, you suck, or you're great, I love you so much. Any of that, send it to us. We want to hear it. With that, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show, and I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, man. Okay. So I think that this should record both of us just fine.
Oh man, if my lips aren't wet enough to whistle the whole thing.
Yeah. It's interesting because those clips we were just listening to were recorded on an iPhone 4,
yeah,
and it was still pretty good quality, which always impressed me.
There was a crazily small amount of popping and shit. Even when everyone was screaming, it was just high gain.
Yeah, so you can fix that with noise removal. So, okay, so welcome to another edition of our As Unyet Named podcast.
Another edition of the first episode.
Yeah, another edition of the first episode of the podcast that we haven't named yet. But we should. And I've been throwing the idea around because it's going to be you, me, and Ken. So the three of us. And I was like, Ask Cast, but then that could just be Ask Cast.
Well, but what's wrong with self-deprecating humor? We do that all the time.
Whoa. Ask Cast would be like the male stripper podcast.
It could just be the,
or
porn star podcast or something, either way.
Yeah, which they have, apparently.
There's audiences for everything.
There are. Podcast, but then KAST. So, I don't know. We'll have to come up with a name.
We'll shop it. We'll see what's up.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. But it's something about semi-intelligent conversation to the world.
Well, we all have different expertise areas, right? So everyone's going to have a different perspective, and it's just something that's always valuable.
Yes, definitely.
Even in the times when we all have the same perspective, we lay it on thick. So
well, and
someone's got to enjoy it.
The best part about the conversations that you and Ken and I have consistently are that
it's always about George Bush.
No, unless it's about how much we hate George Bush.
How much you hate George Bush.
I do hate George Bush.
I just dislike him.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
Obama for life. He just fixed diplomatic relations with Cuba.
Anyone since Bill Clinton could have done that by just fixing diplomatic relations with Cuba, but
he did. He's the only one who did it.
Well, I will be curious to see what there actually is to gain from that, because they're still a very staunchly second world, straddling the line between second and third world country. I would be curious, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if their major export was beans or
sugar. Apparently. Well, okay, hang on. So first off, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Steve, and I'm here with Addison.
That's me.
And Addison is a computer scientist who develops tools for the government. As the most basic way to say, the Navy in particular is one of the big things you're working on.
That's my biggest recent project. Yeah.
And I am a computer science student. Not with us today is Ken, who will be joining us in future episodes, who is a CPA and
auditor at KPMG.
Yeah, at KPMG in North Scottsdale. You can find him.
Find him at the following address.
Yeah. So apparently sugar is a huge export of Cuba. So I was reading somewhere that what will happen is that American farmers will stop overcharging Americans for sugar because it was one of the only places you could get it was American farms, and now we're just going to import it from Cuba.
I mean, I don't know. It's sort of the same thing where Ken said earlier that Cuban cigars are going to go down in price. I don't think they are, because it's already an established good at an established price, right? I mean, there's no incentive for them to say it's cheaper now because it's perceived as a luxury good to get a cigar from Cuba. But, although I get the feeling that maybe there's a bit of price inflation in there just because you couldn't get it, right? Because, I mean, I'm no cigar aficionado, but... And Caribbean, Dominican Republic, Cuba, all those places down there are all supposed to have these bomb-ass cigars that are these super, the elite cigars or whatever. So, well, that remains to be seen. I mean, it depends on what it's priced at now, and it's only 90 miles off the coast, you have to remember. So there's every, maybe we'll see sugar go down because we're so close to a port state in that Gulf, but it'll... Obviously, it's a lot more logistics and economics than I understand, but I don't know. Net effect will be interesting for a country that almost made us blow the world up. So, is it worth it? Time will tell. Is it only 50 now? When was that?
1967, wasn't it? Or was that...
Was it 67?
I don't know.
Or was that
the Power
Pigs?
Bay of Pigs was
1964.
I don't know. I wasn't alive.
This is during Vietnam.
It was before Vietnam, but after.
Well, Vietnam was in 65.
I thought Vietnam for us started in 67.
I don't know. I don't know shit about history aside from small pockets here and there. I could have sworn
deep pockets of specific military battles.
Well, no, because we got World War II in 45. We go to Korea in like 51, and then we get out of Korea
56.
Like a couple years later. Yeah. And then I thought, I don't know. I'll look it up, but in the meantime...
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. I think that there will be a drop in Cuban cigars because what made them so pricey was that you couldn't get them. So now anyone who goes in, the kind of person who's going to go and buy Cuban cigars, one, probably won't care too much about their price because he's probably rich already, but would go and be like, I'm not going to pay for like whatever the previous price was. You can get them so easily now. They're flowing over the border.
Well, and that's
like
the thing too is, now I wouldn't be surprised to go over to Tees and see like, hey, we got in our box of Cubans because...
You think Tees will carry Cubans?
Why wouldn't they?
I don't know. They don't have a huge selection over there.
I'm going to assume that if there's the price drop, it's going to be a fucking drop. It's not just going to be like, 10% or something. It's just going to be like, it's a carton of cigarettes now, or something, like
still $25. Like,
yeah, but I mean, for something of such repute, it's going to turn out to be shit, just like every other cigar I've had. But
you haven't had a good cigar.
The problem for me is half the cigar is 100% nicotine poisoning for me since I smoke so much. So like I can never enjoy it. The taste is nice. I mean, we had those acids when we went to that park that one time.
Yeah, those were the bombs.
62, Cuban Missile Crisis.
Bay of Pigs was shortly after that.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years. So that would be 64, 65. Bay of Pigs. But it's, that's the reason I don't smoke them anymore. If I want to smoke something for pleasure like that, I'll smoke my pipe because it never really fails.
How often do you smoke your pipe?
Not that often. I just found it again. It was in that drawer, and I never looked.
Really?
It was in the drawer next to the drawer that I look in all the time because it's where all my gun cleaning equipment is.
And so naturally where your pipe would be. Yes.
Yeah, so. But.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean.
Well, it's another chit for him, right? For
Obama.
Because now he's got a dead most wanted man in the world. And he's got, defrosting relations that have been ice cold for 50 some odd years.
Yeah. And he's butt fucking Russia. Like,
well, that's
he's
the thing.
Destroying Russia.
I was in, Bay of Pigs was in 61.
Was it?
That was before Cuban Missile Crisis.
Well, there we go.
Well,
we don't know anything about Cuban history.
Close the door on that shit.
We look forward to learning of your history, our new Cuban brothers.
But I was in the restroom today and using my time to think of things that were totally useful for my job. And that was the political cartoon about all this Russian shit. Because, like, Russia invades Ukraine. We hit them with sanctions.
Yes.
It hurts, but Putin's not going to say. He's a Bond villain. He never wants to show his weakness to the end.
That's very true.
Then...
In which he will explain his entire plan.
Yeah, but then this Bond villain gets sick oil prices are dropping, and that's 2/3 of Russia's exports are, energy related.
Yeah.
And so now they're making shit money on the things that are supposed to make up the like primary sector of their economy. So you can just imagine, like, before it was America versus Russia, and there's these two boxers, and America just throws like a jab, and it's economic sanctions round one, and then that jab sets off temporal mandibular like tetanus or something, and now Russia's puking on the floor, and as their price is dropping, Obama decides to kick him in the nuts with another round of sanctions.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not enough to get you out of Ukraine by now, how far are you willing to go? Like, forget this whole protecting ethnic Russian shit. Hitler pulled that, and that didn't work out for him. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's crazy. And apparently, so what's going on over there, from what I understand, is the economic sanctions are what? All your goods will be now more expensive, and we know you have to buy them, so fuck you.
Well, I mean, I don't know the specifics of the sanctions package, but in general, it'll be restriction of exports to that country, and also restrictions on imports from that country. And if you're a large trade partner, obviously it's going to have serious economic stability from them. I don't think we actually import much from them. Europe does in the form of energy, but I don't know that. I can't remember the last time I walked around somewhere and saw like a made in Russia sticker or something. So
yeah, seriously.
Obviously, their goods are not part of the average American's daily life, but. And then if you also, say, freeze assets for major companies in Russia that they're investing in the U.S. or prevent U.S. banks from lending to Russian companies or whatever, you just sort of chip away, chip.
Yeah.
And then as you're chipping away, someone, the world pokes the Jenga block of oil prices out from underneath you, and now your primary export's not worth half as much as it was a month ago.
Well, not the world, but specifically Saudi Arabia, right? Like, I've read that Saudi Arabia is actually purposely flooding the market to push out all its competitors.
Well, that's the joke. Is OPEC is an oil cartel. It's the whole point of it is to be essentially a big price fixing thing, but they do it via production quotas. Like, we won't exceed X million barrels a day of production to try and keep the price stable.
Yeah.
So that they can make money, but the world consumers' needs are met. No, not a single OPEC country has ever legitimately fed to those quotas and actually limited themselves there. They're always just like, let's just pull as much fucking oil out of the ground as we can because we want money to feed crime. Like, I don't know. I don't know Saudi Arabia's specific role in this whole oil debacle, but they are a prominent voice in OPEC, so I'm sure whatever they're doing, everyone else is going to start doing too.
Yeah, it's just that's what I heard, that they've been flooding the market because American oil now, like, we're becoming less and less dependent on
we're a net exporter now.
Yeah.
We actually make more oil than we need.
Yeah.
So that's not entirely true. We produce more energy products than we need, right?
Yeah.
But you can't, last time I checked, power a car with natural gas. So,
unfortunately.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
But, we're a net energy exporter now. Although we still, I imagine, have to import like types of oil because there's a huge, and I actually just looked this up the other day when all this shit started. But when they say like light sweet crude oil and stuff like that, that is because it has a light sweet taste. Because back in the 1920s, when you were an oil prospector and you wanted to determine what quality oil it was, you tasted it.
Okay.
That baffles me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the same thing as people making hats with mercury. And it's like, did you ever think that was going to be a good idea to be putting fucking Quicksilver in a hat and that nothing was going to go wrong for you?
Why did they make Quicksilver hats?
It wasn't that they made hats out of... Well, you can't have a hat out of mercury. It would just be water.
Yeah.
But it was... I think it was like a preservative for the cloth or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But there was
like
enough
having lead-based paint, where they were just like, we'll put lead in the paint for some reason.
I mean, that's the failures of the time in terms of scientific advancement. How were they going to know lead's poisonous? No one gave a shit because we need a lot of paint. So
yeah. We had to paint everything. You could add all that.
And so what ended up happening is there's enough mercury in hats where you would put a hat on and you give yourself mercury poisoning after a long time of having that hat. If it was particularly mercury.
Oh, man.
That's where the Mad Hatter comes from. Because when you have mercury poisoning, it just drives you fucking insane.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I never knew that.
But, yeah, I mean, we're certainly have them on the ropes now. But, of course, Putin, even just today... at where oil stands at like $46 a barrel or something, when it was 115 like
in
30
June.
days
Yeah.
ago or something, are like, is like, yeah, no, it's not a big deal. 2/3 of our economy just got wrecked. Not a big deal.
Well, and
Half of our GDP just got fucking raped. Not a big deal. Are you kidding me, man? Put up a brave face all you want and go wrestle some more tigers, but it's not going to save Russia.
He's going to get assassinated now.
I don't think he'll ever be assassinated because he was head of the KGB. They're all fucking work for him.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if he did die, I don't get the feeling that he's going to have a natural death for sure.
But he's also going to die of old age.
Well, he's going to be in power until he dies. He's already played that wonderful game before, and like he was prime minister for a while or president, I can't remember. And then he met his term limit, so he just became the other one. And then as he was leaving the other job, made it so that he could be the other one again. Mm-hmm. So he's like president for 2 terms, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta let the guy who was prime minister when I was president is now going to be the president. Then I'm going to be the prime minister, and then as I'm the prime minister, I want to make it so that I can be the president again, take away term limits for Russian presidency." So like he's essentially assured that he's going to be in power until he's dead.
So he's a czar basically.
Well, yeah, I mean Russia has.
When did he come into power?
90s.
Yeah.
He was the head of the KGB for a while, and then when the Soviet Union became the Russian Federation, he was head of the FSB for a little bit, and I think, which is the new secret, not secret police, but the new like internal security apparatus for Russia.
Federal Secret Brigade.
Well, it's like Federat Securitat,
yeah,
Federal Security Bureau essentially, but then he just became the most powerful man in Russia, and he'll never let it go, and that's kind of scary when you listen to like a lot of his speeches that he gave where it's like, yeah, we need to bring the glory of the Soviet Union back. We need to get back all of Eastern Europe that we lost.
The Soviet Union was never glorious.
Well, at any point. It's glorious from the inside when you're completely attached to the cult of personality, right? But
yeah, I guess.
And I mean, all things considered, for some of those countries, being in the Soviet Union actually like improved their post-Soviet being. Unfortunately, for most of the countries, it just left them as these weird, like, kleptocracies with these terrible, terrible leaders who just turn their country into garbage and are basically just run by crime now.
Yeah.
Like, I would tacitly say that a lot of Eastern Europe, like, you know, Russian-bordered ex-Soviet states are probably their major export is crime.
Yeah.
So...
And by crime, you mean, like crime.
I just organized crime.
Just like drugs.
It's
and
so huge
people
over there.
And
well, I mean, even they have far-reaching consequences even here. Like there's a thriving trade of people who steal cars specifically for Eastern European crime lords because they can't get them there legally because we don't want to trade with Lithuania or what, you know.
Yeah.
So like I want Mercedes, and then they pay some carjacker over here to get them the model they want. And then they ship it in a shipping container.
Yeah.
And they try and hide it. It never really works. Like, I was watching a show about this the other day, and the dude's like, they're doing it again. Like, they have a fucking...
There's a fucking Mercedes in this fucking container.
They have this giant x-ray machine that's made to fit shipping containers, and, like, they'll just be like, this shipping container looks a little off. Take it through, and you'll just see cars, like, stacked up, and they're like, one of these is legally allowed to be here, and the rest of them are for, like... you know, the Marshazov family or something. So it's, I don't know. But then some countries were primarily agricultural states who turned into reasonable industrial powers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just, the Russian Federation has never been, Russia to me has never been a glorious country. Everything I've ever read about Russia, growing up in Russia, living in Russia, at any time since Russia's inception, has been fucking terrible.
Well, I mean, there was a point where, because, you know, they've pretty much always owned all that land.
Yeah.
Like, they have been the largest country in the world for a very long time. And that has its ups and downs. I mean, when you're that large and your capital's so far away, and your primary means of transportation is horseback, technological advancement's not going to reach you that much.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Russia is good and bad. I got nothing against Russia personally, but I have everything against Vladimir Putin. I mean, he just needs to fucking go.
Yeah.
Unequivocally.
Well,
he's
seriously fucking people over right now, like you said, where like 2/3 of their economy is destroyed. The ruble is like is worth like half of what it was a year ago, and has dropped down another 12% in the last day.
Well, and I think the perfect word for it I saw in like a USA Today article was it cratered. I mean, it's that thing was hurtling towards Earth Armageddon style.
Seriously.
It took the Russian central bank Bruce Willis to fucking stop it.
And it didn't work.
Exactly.
Like, it didn't work.
Well, because they tried to use a Russian nuke. Of course it's not going to work. It's got to be an American nuke to stop that meteor.
It did not.
Or I guess asteroid's the right term, but either way.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. It's really crazy to me. Like, when I think about, like, you heard the stories of people in like the 60s during the Cold War, like there would be like Russian soldiers who got like captured temporarily or something, and so they would like come over to America for a little while and see how we lived, and they in Russia, like where they like piss in pots and
send you to a gulag.
Yeah, and like everything is made of like stone and mortar, and like it's, you know, like they didn't really advance, and it's fucking cold over there all the time. And they have to slaughter their own cattle, like they have to slaughter their own food and everything to survive. And then like the Russian people or the Russian government is just like, over in America they fuck pigs and, you know, rape little girls, you know? And so they like,
oh, that's propaganda.
And then they go to America, and America's like, look at all of our beautiful women and all of our supermarkets, and you can have an air-conditioned home, and that's your right as an American citizen.
Did you know that by virtue of living in America, you can flush a toilet?
Yeah.
Did you know you don't have to shit in a box that keeps the shit in it forever?
Or alternatively, you pour into the streets where it runs into the gutters.
That's one of the only things that I fear about time travel is like the difference in customs that I would be used to would just be such a huge shock. I mean, it would be culture shock, but time shock. Mm-hmm. New novel by Addison Waldo.
Addison Waldo's Time Shock.
But like, I would travel through time and I'd be trying to do something noble or like find a way to make a huge amount of money or something. And then someone would dump a chamber pot on me and I'd be like, nope, I'm out of here. So
I'm going back to my time.
This is literally covered in shit. 1749.
Yeah.
Back to 2014.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though. I have to say, like, given the opportunity, I would totally live in Russia.
You think?
Yes.
Right now?
Not right now, obviously. I wouldn't like put myself into a country who is like nosediving. Yeah. But in the stable times in the post-Cold War era, before Putin starts getting his imperial ambitions again, I'd totally live there.
Why?
I don't know.
It didn't sound like it was that good back then.
I love the language.
True.
They're
really fucking good at computers, apparently.
Well, 10% of the world's computer programmers are employed there.
Yeah.
And then 50% are employed in America, so I don't know why that's like an interesting number for them, but they also have the most like organized computer crime aside from China.
Aren't they like the leading? Haven't they always been the world's leading hackers? Like they're just always been.
I don't know about that. I mean,
hacking.
the hacking scene started in Australia, and there was always a lot of good people down there. And then, because the big thing for them was, you know, and this is somewhat of a fiction, but it's meant to illustrate something, is they didn't actually have computers there for so long after computers were real, but they did have people there who wanted to learn how they worked and to learn how to program. So instead of actually just like writing a program, they would write a program by hand. And then they took some of these in the, you know, era of them being able to actually test these programs, and they were like startlingly bug free because all they had time to do was fucking think about how it worked. You know, they weren't just like iteratively trying to come to the right solution via an algorithm. They were like, man, I would like this to work. I'm going to trace it by hand with test inputs or whatever and see, and then it would come out and it would work like perfectly. You know. Yeah. And a lot of the most high profile hackers who do a lot of damage come out of Russia. I mean, there was a guy who, I can never for the life of me remember his name, but he actually went to come do a talk at DEF CON the same year that we were. Dan was there to talk about Nova, and he, like, pretty much got insta-deported. Because in Russia, the rules...
This Russian dude did?
Yeah, because in Russia, the rules for, like, what constitutes acceptable use of a computer are way different than here.
Really?
Like if you can be a black hat hacker and still be like helping people, you know, you're helping criminals and shit, but it's not like illegal for you to do that.
Really? So wait, so this guy was at where? DEF CON? Where's that at?
That they hold that in Vegas, and that's like the other one being Black Hat, like hacker air quotes conference, security conference, information security. But it's, you know, doing testing over there, you can hack someone's website and shit, and it's not illegal as long as you like tell them what you did, and
you just have to be forthright about them.
Well, so like it's called being white hat. So you go to someone's website, you find like a SQL injection or something, and you just got a list of 100 million credit cards, whatever. You would just tell them, hey, close this hole. It was a long, long time in this country before you could do that and not get fucking prosecuted for it.
Really?
Yeah. Because the company, even though you're helping them, they can, because you accessed information that you weren't supposed to, they can persecute you under federal law. It's what happened to the guy who made RSS and Reddit and stuff. Like, he fucking killed himself because he was scraping like academic publications for free from this website from like a university, and they're like, no, you can't do that, lawsuit. And
that's why he killed himself?
Well, yeah, I mean, it got too much for him. He's just like, sorry. It's like Schwartzman. You might want to look it up. Schwartz or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I read about that whole thing when it happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the rules are different over there, but for me, I don't know.
And so a Russian dude came over here to DEF CON
to do a talk,
and they instantly deported him because they were like, fuck you.
Well, I would have to look at the article again, but I know he got here and then he got taken away like right away. Yeah. So
let's see, Russian DEF CON deportation. What is it?
He either got deported or he got like
Russian spy needed some serious IT help.
No, not that. You know, I'll have to look.
Yeah, we'll find it sometime
later. But either way, I know there was some guy who does security research over there that is different than the definition of security research over here, and he just kicked his ass out like right away, pretty much.
Interesting.
So I stand by it. I would live in Russia if it was a better time. I don't know why that's true, aside from I love the Russian language, but
I think you like their stoicism. The Russians are very stoic people.
I was going to say that earlier. I'd just be living amongst people like me.
You really would.
I hate talking to people. Like, I hate chit-chat to people I don't know.
Yeah. I was going to say, ironically, we're doing a podcast. Well,
and, you know, I don't like the formalities of having to, like, hello, how was your day? And all that kind of crap. In Russia, you're weird if you do that. I was reading up on that, and people would like, and maybe it's changed now. The person who wrote it hasn't lived there for a while, but they were talking about like, oh, you know, in America, it's customary when you go into a shop to like ask the shopkeep how they're doing and shit. Which I didn't know that, but
yeah.
But in Russia, if you do that, they'll give you the stink eye and assume you're up to shit. I was just like, all right.
I think you're trying to take all their shit.
Sounds like. And then I saw this video of like this street full of traffic. And this guy's standing there, and this car, like, is trying to get into another lane. And I don't know how the car got him, but it kind of bumped him a little, and he just turned around and fucking shot the car. And the car is just, like, like, running over the sidewalk and shit to get away. I was like, I could do that. Don't piss people off, or you've got a fucking problem.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of that same way that too, though. Like, I don't like small talk in general. Like, I don't like pointless conversation.
It's boring.
And I get real weird when people I don't know well are like super friendly to me. Like, they talk to me a lot. Like, I have people, like, there are people who I've met who like would just be like they'll message me on Facebook, like people I barely talked to like one or two times. Like, there was a guy who did that a while ago, and he was like, and I it was so random because he was just like, hey man, how you doing? Like, oh, we met here, and I just wanted to talk to you and get to know you better and stuff. And I was like, why?
what possible non-conniving use?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I get real suspicious when people like, unless it's
the best impulse to have,
unless like it's over time that I just like people at work or people at school that I talk to.
Well, and that's like forced and reasonable constant exposure. But if it's someone you like, I met you at a LAN party and I had to be your Steam friend or something. Yeah. But you keep talking to me and I don't give a shit about you anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
it's weird. Yeah, I get like, unless I'm around them pretty consistently, and I guess I choose to like talk to them, or am in a situation regularly where I talk to someone. Like there are some people that are just like, I don't know, it just makes me uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. I guess like
it's estimation of social value, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the rigors of having to learn you and your quirks and isms and seeing how you react to mine, which are not normal.
True.
Why it's just a waste of time. I mean, I'm not gonna like you regardless, and there's a huge chance you're not gonna like me. So see you later.
Yeah.
Like,
how did you manage to go out and create a whole new group of friends though? Because you
forced exposure. They were all people in my CS program.
Where they Ben wasn't.
Ben wasn't, but Colin I had worked with throughout high school. I mean, I worked at Quiznos with him for like 2.5 years or some shit. Yeah. And we just kind of kept in touch, and it was easy for me to do that with him because he was like us, kind of. You know, he's a little more slow, but
yeah,
just in his means of speech and everything. But he was a fun guy to hang out with. I had to be around him a lot of the time, so. And then through Colin, I meet Ben, since they hang out all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I had investiture there. I knew Colin from having to work with him. If Colin was someone I had just like seen once or twice at high school or something, no, I would not have been friends with him. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like people and I like talking to people. It's like even when I was streaming all the time, there would be certain people who would message me and just be like, "Hey, like how's it going? We should get on Skype and talk sometime."
On Twitch or whatever?
Yeah, like people would message me on World of Warcraft when I was streaming. Like there was one dude.
Oh, it's wild people who. I thought you were talking about your.
That's my phone.
Oh, okay.
And apparently yours too.
No, it's my tablet in there. My phone's gonna get one right now though.
Is it Ken?
Yeah.
Assuming
the hackers are North Korean, I doubt they'd release it. In regards to your, if they have an illegal copy, I'm just gonna show it to the world.
I want to.
I do too.
We'll get onto that, but
yeah.
Shit. What were we talking about for
people?
Oh, so yeah. So there was a guy who used to message me, and he never really watched my stream, but he came into my stream one time.
Was it the Nazi?
No, but I don't know what happened to the Nazi. He's probably dead. he disappeared. Yeah, that guy. I don't know. There was this guy who was a Nazi, and he was from Sweden, and he basically like would come into my stream really late at night if I was streaming at like midnight.
Well, because that's like 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's like normal time over there. And he would be like, the first time he came in, he was like, "Hey, you should check out these videos on meditation. Like meditation is, I'm pro meditation, and people should do it. So please watch this video. And I was like, all right, fine. I was like, oh yeah, meditation's cool. Like, cause I like Eastern things like that, like the Eastern ideologies.
You're a Buddhist now?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, I could be. Better than the Western religions. Buddhists don't murder people. They just light themselves on fire. So they do. In protest. They don't light other people on fire or cut their heads off.
You should, as far as Eastern religions of violence, look at Bushido and...
Isn't Bushido a type of martial arts?
No, it's a moral code. But it also was perverted and used to fly planes into ships, so...
Really? Back in
That's World War II.
World War II.
Kamikazes.
Oh, okay.
The honorable way. I'm out of ammo. Fuck it.
It's over.
Yeah.
So this guy would come in, and so at first he's like, yeah, like you should do. So he like convinced me, like he's like, yeah, you should try it on stream, and I was like, fuck it, why not? Like, I think I might have been doing a 24. No, I wasn't doing a 24-hour stream, but it was late, and so I did it, and I was like, oh, that was fun, and he's like, you're so cool, you're like super awesome, and then. Like an hour later, he's like, so we should talk about how the Nazi Party is still alive and strong, and like, and how really Hitler was not such a bad guy. Look at this YouTube video of Hitler's perfect Germany, and it was like concepts that Hitler had actually drawn up of what his Germany would look like, and it looked very utopian and very inspired by Rome. Like,
that's the whole. Well, I mean, that's part of that comes from. I don't know if you've done much reading on Mussolini, but his whole thing was, bringing it back to the glory days of Imperial Rome, where everything is, and Hitler had a lot of similar ambitions, like you're saying. That's the whole thing about fascism, is it's like, it's almost ultra-conservative and how backwards it wants to be, and it's trying to make everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like it really, fascism. To really believe in it, you have to believe that there was a golden age for where you are, and that you desperately want to go back to.
Well, that's Russia, right? Russia's like they believe that there was a golden age.
Oh, I think
or they believe that they for a long time they believed continuously that they were in a golden age, and we're not.
Well, that's what happens when you have such huge. Every time I think about it and read about it, it's so stark how like completely polar Russia and America are.
Yeah.
Although. To a certain extent, I mean, the Orthodox Church still has so much insane power over there. Like, I don't understand how they get away with that, but they don't have separation of church and state. So people just kind of have to be like, okay, I can't have a. They wanted. I don't know if you saw this article, but they wanted to create, in honor of The Hobbit coming out, they were going to put an Eye of Sauron on top of a tower.
Awesome.
But the Orthodox Church says, no, that's bad. That will cause evil things to happen.
Of course. What, Orthodox Church? Catholic Church?
Orthodox Church.
Just
Eastern Orthodox. It's the Russian church.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, so this guy, like, comes in and then he just, like...
Hitler's great Germany.
And then he's like, yeah, like, so this is what Hitler's Germany would have looked like. He's like, did you know that Hitler's really... He was not a bad guy. And he did the right thing, and I was like, I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure that Hitler was a terrible person, and everyone knows this. And he's like, no, Hitler was right. Hitler was actually right about what he did. And I was like, no, he was not. And so eventually he's just spamming in my chat, Hitler was right, Hitler was right. And I was like, oh my god.
Anyone who says Hitler was right, or that's like Saddam Hussein was right, they get the same reaction from me. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like you are.
And this guy was
a very fringe element, my friend.
Yeah, well, and this guy was talking about, I guess he was like a socialist within Sweden, and there's actually like a movement of people in Sweden.
Nazi is National Socialist in German. Yeah. It's the, compression of the first two letters of the first two words or whatever. But it's like National Socialist.
Sicherheil. So anyways, there was this guy who would message me and be like, coming back to not liking to talk to people. This guy he came into my chat. My stream didn't load for him, but he was like, hey, my stream didn't load, but I saw that you have your WoW information on your thing, so I added you. We should totally play some time.
Be my friend, I want to be on your stream.
Yeah.
Stream jacked it.
And I was like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And then he would message me and be like, hey man, how's it going? We should, do you have Skype? We should get on Skype sometime. I'm like,
let's make love on the internet.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I don't want to, I was like, I don't, or no, he would ask me if I had Ventrilo because he didn't have Skype. He'd always ask me if I had Vent or Raid Call or something. And because he just wanted to talk to me so bad. I'm like, I don't know how to tell you this, but I don't want to talk to you. I appreciate that you don't watch my stream because it won't load for you or whatever. I appreciate that you support me, but it's like, it's super weird to me when people are like, hey, I know we've never spoken, we've never met, but I would like to get on Skype with you, even though you talk to me only over the internet. Also, I don't have a lot of friends, and I'm trying to make more friends.
Well, that's, it's weird. I was actually talking with my friend Mark about this recently, but there was a whole, and it's our generation, really, is the assumption of the ease of friendship in an online place, right? I mean, you, especially as a player of an MMO, that's the only way you're going to make your friendships on there, right? Is by just random people, aside from, the happenstance of you having an actual physical friend in real life who buys the game or something.
Yeah. Any
relationships you have in there are going to be air quotes, purely digital ones, right? So it's not so hard to believe that people think that extends beyond the realms of the MMO to include just normal life that you live normally. Let's talk about your problems kind of shit. But it is certainly very annoying.
Yeah, it's weird.
Every month or so, I'll be playing Insurgency and be doing really well, and all these people will add me, and then they bother me to complain with them. I'm like, no, I don't want to. And then every month I go clear out my friends list, and so I have you guys and Ben on there, and not one person more than I need.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's not that I wouldn't want to talk to fans, people who hear the pod, if there's people who like our podcasts and stuff, and they're like, oh man, if we're at someday when we're rich and famous and we go to conventions or whatever, people who, if we were ever in that situation where we went to a convention, I would love to talk to fans, but
yeah, that's fine, but it's not. they're not going to come to you and be like, hey, do you want to like come to my place and have a drink? And
But
let's
some
talk
people
about
will.
shit.
Yeah.
And I get that. But at the best, they're going to get from me, how about a bar instead?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or
like,
let's go like smoke a joint in the back alley.
How
or
about a bar
like,
instead? I won't meet you there. Have fun.
Like I just like, but there are people, and this happens with fame all the time. And like I have 150 followers on Twitch. I don't really just Twitch stream anymore because I'm working on the YouTube thing now because it's a little more flexible. So I don't have really any idea what like fame is like, right? But you see this a lot with famous people where like because you're famous and your life is so projected into the public eye, people think that they know you. And so like, you know, you hear about celebrities all the time who have people who come up to them and will just like they've never talked to but will talk to them like they're friends, you know? And be like, "Hey man, like we should hang out and go like get a drink, right?" And you're like, "Who are you going to rape me? Like I don't know who you are."
But
so,
that's unfortunately the celebrity media makes sure that it fucking feels like you know them, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
every magazine
today,
you look at when you're checking out at a grocery store is like newest news about these people that shouldn't matter. You know?
Well, and even to with as connected as the world is today, like I mean,
that's all that just means is more platforms for that to occur. It just ingrains it more.
Yeah.
So tip to all y'all, you don't know anyone. Except for the people that you have met face to face, and that you have known for years,
which is basic 1990s internet safety protocol.
Yeah, but you know it's.
But I guess like people don't believe like in the 90s, anyone you talked to on the internet was probably a rapist
or pedophile or whatever.
Even if I had talked to you, I didn't know you in the 90s, but had I known you in the 90s and talked to you online, there was like a 50% chance you were actually a pedophile who had subsumed your identity.
Especially in the times before the actual big internet games, where games were being on a forum and role-playing stuff.
Yeah. I remember
Gaia Online, son.
Yeah. I remember role-playing on a forum, but it was literally like talking like being like I do this, and then another person responds on the forum was like, well, I do this, and
no, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Back when games were fucking real.
Yeah.
And they required imagination. Stickball.
Yeah, serious literally internet stickball.
Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere along the way, those like basic rules of social decorum, because even if you're at like a party, right, there's a bunch of people you don't know. You don't just fucking go up to a random person and be like, hey, I'm going to talk to you as if I've known you for my entire life. There's a lot of people who did that to me in high school, and I was just like, get away from me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't give a shit about you, and I don't want you infesting my life. So, see ya.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'll talk to random people at parties, especially if like I don't drink that much anymore. I don't. But like back when the days.
Speaking of which, you want some Jay or Jameson?
Yeah. What are we gonna do for dinner?
I ate already, so.
You ate dinner already?
Yeah, I ate it on the way
like
home.
3:00.
I left work at 2:30 and got food on the way back.
Okay, well I'll just get dinner when I go home tonight. So.
Yeah, but
do you have Coke or just regular straight J?
I don't have any soft drinks, so
I don't want to do it straight.
Okay,
but you can have one. I won't judge.
All right.
Yeah, you know. It's all right, fine. You've convinced me.
You realize that you drank the neck and shoulders off of this thing. I had like a couple sips.
That's true.
That's sum total. So
that's true. Yeah. So I mean, I'll get like I don't drink very much at or in general anymore, but back in the days when I used to get super drunk, I would go up to someone I didn't know or barely knew and introduce myself, and I would just fucking like talk their ear off like a motherfucker.
I miss that Steve somewhat.
Maybe that Steve said a lot of things he shouldn't have said.
Steve has a lot of recordings of him saying things you shouldn't say at Halloween parties, but
yeah.
But well, that's internet social decorum. Where are we going next?
I don't know. Okay, so
shall we? Okay.
Well, so
lead me, war leader.
So the interview canceled today. Cheers, motherfucker.
Ugh, goes down like fire. I need some water.
It's delicious. At the same time. So Sony cancels their upcoming movie, The Interview, which is supposed to come out December 25th. I think it was supposed to come out on Christmas Day. And it's like, and it looks like a really good movie, extremely controversial. It looked really funny because it had James Franco and Seth Rogen. And the last time we really saw them together was
Pineapple Express.
no, This Is the End.
Yeah,
One of the funniest movies.
I will posit forever that Pineapple Express is the best.
You were a big stoner, so I think at one point in your life.
Not even because of that. It's just the scene that got me is when Seth Rogen is fucking smoking the cross joint. It's just the funniest thing in the world to me. I know, because I always wanted one.
You always wanted a cross joint?
But I never got one.
You never built one. You could have built one.
Yeah, I still watched that movie after. I stopped smoking weed, so.
Yeah, but you never. But back in the weed days, you could have built a cross joint, but you never did.
Well, I didn't know about it then.
Yeah. Well, we
didn't really ever smoke out of Jay's. We just smoked out of Steven's pipe. So.
Yeah, that's true. We did roll a few joints once. There was that one that I lost in the couch, and I don't know if it ever turned up.
We found it when Ken moved out.
Really?
It was in that fucking couch. It's just like, because it should have fallen all the way down, but it literally got caught in a thing that like this. Like, it was just like laying in a hook that was out there, and it fucking fell up, and we're like, yeah.
Did someone smoke it?
Well, no, it was like 2.5 years old at that point.
It's just finally aged. I assume the THC loses its potency after a certain
Well, even at
time.
that point, it would just basically be like burning charcoal. I mean,
yeah.
It's just like carbon joint.
Carbon. It's carbonized marijuana.
No, it's just carbon. That's the drug of the future, right? Mm-hmm. Everything's carbon now. Yeah. I was reading, sorry to interrupt, but this is totally cool. So you know about Kevlar, obviously. Yes. You know what Kevlar is, though?
No. I know it's something that stops bullets. It's a weave, isn't it? It's like...
Yes, it's a very dense fabric weave, and to make body armor or Kevlar plate or whatever, you just layer it in as many layers as it takes to stop the round that you're trying to stop.
Yeah.
But that makes it super heavy. Well, this company just came out with fucking carbon fiber body armor that weighs like 0.5 pound but can stop a rifle bullet and shit. I was like, oh yes, yeah. It's coming. Oh, no, that's going to matter, because in 10 years, we're going to have, like, a Space Marine suit from StarCraft for every soldier. But
yeah, or Iron Man suits.
Never.
Yeah.
Personal flight like that's never going to happen, I don't think.
Well, you don't have it. It's too much energy. You would need a nuclear reactor the size of your fist.
Well, they have reactors that are super small. They just work on a different principle.
Yeah.
Like, the things that power pacemakers are basically just tiny polonium reactors, but the power is heat as opposed to actual like fusion energy or any of that matter.
Well, yeah, they have like fusion reactors, right? But they haven't really cracked the large
fusion. I think it's fission.
Fission.
I thought fusion was like whenever someone comes up saying that they've like, I found a way to design a cold fusion reactor, everyone's like, fuck, no you didn't.
Yeah. Well, there's
science joke, come on.
There's an article I read that where I think it was via Discovery.
Oh, the TV show?
Where
channel?
you can build a fusion reactor. Yeah, a fusion reactor. You can build a fusion reactor for $1,000 in your basement, apparently.
How did you get it whole? I mean, are they just buying really small packets of uranium from a chemical supplier?
Well, no, because what you need is, let's see. Some dude built it, blah, blah, blah. And you need... There's like you need deuterium, I guess.
Deuterium?
Yeah, so...
Isn't that the...
It's heavy hydrogen.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And it's hard to separate, but you can get it.
Well, yeah,
it's
that's
like
what makes heavy water.
Liters.
Heavy water reactors is a deuterium reactor, essentially.
Yeah. So you have to like I don't know anything about how fusion works, but essentially what you do is you build a home reactor that you release deuterium into it, and you like control the pressure, and that creates the
What's
sparks.
the output for it?
Not a lot. Homegrown reactors.
Do they actually say a number? They're like, you couldn't even charge a cell phone with this.
Probably. I don't think you could. You need 50,000 volts of electricity.
For what?
To run it in order to produce the reaction.
Yeah.
Flammable gas. electrons hitting the stainless steel chamber produce X-rays, so don't look into the window. It uses a lot more energy than it produces. It's barely capable of achieving a detectable nuclear reaction, so fusion is one of the least hazardous parts of the project. Yeah, so there's people that like literally they build nuclear reactors in their basements
for no reason,
fun, like just because that's what they do.
I was gonna spend $1,000 on something, it wouldn't be on a pointlessly weak hyper electricity requiring nuclear reactor.
Yeah. So anyways,
okay,
so
the
Sony,
interview.
Yeah, so the interview gets canceled. Sony
straight up canceled, and I was reading an article about that earlier tonight, and I thought that they just weren't doing the premiere.
Well, I don't know. Have they said?
Because they closed that out.
Have they said that they're just delaying it until some future date, or is it like done?
Well, they're
just like fuck it, we're not releasing this movie.
What can they do if all the major theaters aren't going to show it?
I mean, they could wait 6 months and just release it under the radar and hope that the Koreans don't notice. I don't know.
I think, Ken just Facebooked us this a little bit ago, but they were probably just going to be like, it's straight to DVD right away,
Yeah, which would be the highest DVD sales ever of any movie in existence.
I mean, 100%. It's so some people are not going to do that because it's $13 for a trip to the movie, it's $20 for the DVD, and you are paying into something that you literally have no chance of ever having seen before. So I don't know that I would get that DVD.
I don't know. I would.
And then I would watch yours.
Yeah, and you could watch mine. I don't know. I will just find a pirated copy of it, and I will send Seth Rogen and James Franco $13, and they can.
That's legit. I kind of wish that was just.
You could do
there's
that.
There's infrastructure in place to do that. But.
Yeah. So, and that raises the question. So So Seth Rogen and James Franco have created this movie. I mean, I don't know who directed it. Let's find out.
Is it a Judd Apatow movie?
I would laugh. Okay, let's look at the interview.
Because that's their usual.
Sony scraps it.
I think that's just marketing jargon, though. There's no reason to get rid of the whole project.
I mean, they're not going to like flush it down the toilet, but it's. I mean, they're not.
That's usually what scraps means.
Yeah, that's what they do when they scrap stuff. Details, technical specs.
Who the fuck is the director?
Oh, Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen.
Hold on, click on Evan Goldberg. Who is that? Okay, some
guy. He's from Vancouver.
Whatever.
And he did Pineapple Express, and Superbad, and The Green Hornet. And he did This Is the End as well. So it's probably going to be a good movie.
Well,
it's going to be. It
has a lot to recommend it, and but we have to give in to terrorist demands.
No,
didn't you know that we do that in America all the time?
Apparently, and it's really unfortunate. And I hope that Seth Rogen and James Franco, they make this amazing movie. And now, for one thing,
they better get fucking paid.
Well, they will. They've already been paid for it. They're not going to get any of the back end.
Well, they're not going to get any of the royalties.
Yeah, because usually, as far as I know, and I don't know anything about Hollywood, but from what I know, it's like you get paid up front. Like you'll get cash up front. So they already got their
lump in royalties kind of
thing.
Yeah,
they already got their like $10 million each or whatever straight up.
What I would do for $10 million
for 3 months of work, no less. But then
3 months, movies take years.
Well,
and 3 months of you're working 18 hours a day.
Well, 3 months of recording, and then the actor's job is done other than going out and promoting it. I don't know. It's $10 million. There's a lot I would do for $10 million.
Yeah, or even just any 7 or 8 digit figure. I would do a lot for that.
So they got paid for sure. And then they won't see any royalties or any back end because there will be no back end. Sony is fucked. Because Sony, I mean, what's the budget? I should have left this up so that we can look at it more while we're talking about. But what the budget for this movie is at least $50 or $60 million.
That's not a lot for a movie, though.
Yeah, I guess that's
all
true.
things considered. I mean, that's actor pay, pretty much.
That's Robert Downey Jr. pay. I don't think there's a lot of actors that make $50 million.
If you want to, you're gonna want to check the Wikipedia article, not IMDb, for that shit. IMDb's never useful.
The Intiver.
Intiver.
I wonder if they have it on Wikipedia that it was scrapped already. Cancel the series promotions after Sony canceled the theatrical release. Okay, budget. $44 million.
Yeah.
So $44 million that they are never going to get back on that movie. Like, I don't see unless they release it.
Go to Sony's Wikipedia page. And what was their revenue last quarter? I mean, 44 million is nothing to them.
Yeah, they had billions.
That's
of dollars
less than like 2%.
Yeah, but I mean
what they made. So,
but artistically, like this is a movie that should be shown. I think.
Well,
because
there's
art,
no movie that shouldn't be really.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is art, and their art is being censored by a bunch of terrorists.
And you know, the interesting thing is usually if it's going to be censored, it's censored by some in-state actor, right? That says the circle or the court says, "Oh, you can't show that weird like Muslim video that made everyone go crazy and murder someone in Denmark."
Yeah,
do you remember that?
I remember something about it. There.
Well, it's some weird like he's an Egyptian guy or something made a video like Kirk.
It was like
the life and times of Muhammad, but
Muhammad,
a complete made him out to be like a pedophile and all this shit, and like they can't show that movie because it's too offensive, air quotes. Which there's nothing that is ever fucking too offensive. So thank you for that.
Well, there are movies that are not allowed to see theatrical release because they're too offensive, like the MPAA. They rate them, and if they rate it NC-17, it doesn't see theatrical release, but it can still be sold.
I can understand that, but I don't know. That was censorship by religious violence,
which is always bullshit.
But yeah. But in this case,
and that guy still to this day lives in he lives in fear of his life.
Well, I'm pretty sure he got arrested because he wasn't supposed to be like using a computer.
I don't know. I don't know.
But I mean, regardless, usually you don't really see that threats. Because, I mean, something like this has happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Salman Rushdie writes a book, again, about the life of Muhammad the Prophet.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed be his name. And the Shah of Iran puts a bounty on his head. A state actor pays out of his pocket to kill a man.
Yeah.
And so that book doesn't show up. You know, like... I don't know, it's just so strange, and it's even worse this time because these people are completely anonymous. It's obviously North Korea. I don't know why people would give it. I mean,
it's surprising to me that North Korea has that kind of capability.
It's not surprising to me at all.
Yeah, so they essentially get in and they steal all of Sony's data, and they go from. So they take it and they're just like, hey, we have a bunch of your movies and we're going to release them online to the pirating community and stuff. And they call, what do they call themselves?
GOP, the Guardians of Peace.
The Guardians of
Peace. The Grand Old Party, Republicans.
Yeah. So they call themselves the Guardians of Peace. Do you think, what do you think are the chances? So you swear it's North Korea.
The only thing I would think of that would not recommend it being North Korea is the English that they're using is not bad enough.
I mean, I guess that means...
Or it seems fake bad.
Oh,
it seems like someone who knew what they're writing wrote it and then made it shitty afterwards to make it sound like North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been news articles about that because North Korea, I mean, they have schools with that. One of the reasons they take American prisoners is to force them to teach proficient English to people, so that they can infiltrate wherever they need to. I can see that being reasonable because this could just be anonymous but not wanting the heat. Or
could
some
be.
Shit like
or
that,
it could be a completely new hacker group that's just...
Whatever the case, but because they're so specifically targeting the interview, that's either some brilliant tradecraft by whoever's trying to make it look like it's North Korea, and of course North Korea's going to fucking deny it. Show me a time when China's ever admitted to fucking stealing IP from the U.S. government. Of course you're not going to, as a state... overtly say, oh yes, actually we were hacking your shit.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to believe North Korea when they say they're not doing it, obviously. But just that English, it seems a little too good and then bad. Every other sentence is terrible, and then the one before it is perfectly fine. So it's why? Did you learn half of English and your just mind diverts into starvation every other sentence? You can't think
Yeah, I know and that's the thing is I wonder because so much of what hackers are a lot of hacking groups, they do it just to fuck with people. They really seem to have no focused goal or if what their goal is to just for whatever reason, they like, it really could be not North Korea. It might not be North Korea. And it might just be some guys who, for whatever reason, they just want to
shit
see,
up, and they
want to
fucking hate Sony for some
or they just want to see how much damage they could do. Like, that's what it is. A lot of hacker groups just want to see how much damage they can do for fun.
And you know, that's...
And $44 million worth of damage is pretty good.
Well, and plus all the money that I can guarantee you Sony spent immediately after they figured out. Because Sony figured it out, and then they waited a long time before they told us, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Every fucking company's that way for some fucking reason.
Yeah, they don't talk about it very
well, which is so stupid, because just like when people hacked PSN the first time, there is real stake for your customers. I would rather be, like, told of it early and have it be false than told of it late when someone's already fucking stolen, like, my credit card number and done irreparable damage. Unacceptable, but they do it anyways.
Yeah.
But...
Well, credit card damage isn't credit card theft isn't irreparable.
But identity theft, it's not that it's irreparable, but it's a huge hassle.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Well, and if they get your social security number, then it could be like 30 years from now, you find out you have 15 houses in Denmark, and and you're wanted for child molestation.
It's just completely unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
But I guarantee you, the moment Sony found out about that, they spent a shitload of money. And then there's all the money of their employees not being able to open a computer at work. Right?
Really?
Because like every machine in that company is infested with.
Well, yeah. Actually, I thought you were saying that they had employees who didn't know how to operate a computer.
No, I mean the argument could be made, but that's only from the PlayStation perspective. But
well, they locked him down though. Yeah, because I remember there were pictures tweeted out about it where people were like,
it's just legit 100%. Like, no, actually, you can't open your computer today because we don't know how it's going to spread. Yeah. Well, we know now, but we don't want it to spread anymore. We can't take that chance. So, which I would think that pull the Ethernet out and turn the Wi-Fi off would be okay. But
you should be all right, yeah.
But you can fake it. You can fake Windows to make it look like the Wi-Fi's off when it isn't. So.
Well, but if you pull the Ethernet, well, I guess if
the Wi-Fi, so it don't matter.
You could remove the Wi-Fi card, I guess.
Yeah, but then I mean that's a huge amount of work for 10 billion laptops or however.
Well, but you don't
work for that company.
If you want to just do it for one, so that you could learn about the virus.
Yeah, and I mean it really depends on who you are too, because if you're like an animator or something, you need the internet. But if you're just a marketing person, then
it's not a big deal.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean that company got catapulted back to the Stone Age, man. And
I will be very interested to see what the results of this is, because if the FBI hasn't come out to date about who these, like, any information about who these people are now, a month or so after the attack has happened, I don't know that they're actually going to make any progress.
And you think they might never know?
It could be just one of those unsolved things.
There has to be a trail, though. It doesn't. Everyone leaves a digital footprint, don't they?
But you can get around stuff to mitigate that. I mean, luckily the FBI has a lot more tools now. Finding out people who are using Tor or whatever. Like, there are ways to trap people doing that shit.
Yeah.
But the people who are doing this are just so, like, they're taking every possible precaution.
Of course.
They're not making any mistakes, and that's how the FBI is going to catch them, is they make a mistake. So until they do that, it's kind of, I would assume there's a lot of people at the FBI just kind of twiddling their thumbs or beating a computer monitor in frustration.
Yeah, it's surprising to me that we are not able to instantly, like, crack this. I mean, I assume that they patched the holes. Whatever was used to get in, I'm sure they found and fixed it.
So,
but it's surprising to me that we couldn't, I guess, like, counter hack them or find them or trace them.
You want to know why that is? Because it's illegal.
So we're not allowed to do it?
You're not allowed to counter hack people in America, which doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
So if you're in America and someone counter hacks, like...
No, it's not even... There's never a counter hack. There's just hack. The moment you counter hack, you're now doing something illegal. And they will arrest you alongside the person who hacked you in the first place.
Do you think so?
Yes.
I mean,
but
what about, like, the CIA's entire division that they have? And we know that they have an entire division dedicated to hacking other countries and hacking.
The CIA?
Yeah,
No.
they must.
The NSA, yes.
The NSA, okay.
For sure.
So
that's their whole. That's already come out that happens. That's what PRISM and all that shit was for Snowden.
So why are they not getting in trouble? Why do they do it? And why?
Because they're entrusted governmental body with federal power.
So that's what I'm saying. So why?
But they're acting as a state actor. It's not about so if I as a company get hacked and then I start hacking another person, I'm not a state actor. I don't have the same protections that they
well, that's what I'm saying. Is I'm surprised that the FBI or the CIA or NSA has not counter hacked them. And
you have to figure out where they are, but I could go on my computer right now and make my IP address look like I was from fucking China. Yeah. That's part of the reason why it's actually hard to indict people who are hacking from China, because they can make themselves look like they're from anywhere. You don't have definitive proof unless you see someone at a keyboard doing the hacking. Yeah. Right? All you can do is make conjecture, and then in our case, even if we had proof, they wouldn't give them over, And we know that in China's case, it's most likely actual state
funded.
Well, it's the PLA has a group of people whose sole purpose is just to steal shit from America because God forbid they innovate anything on their own.
Yeah,
just gotta steal jet designs from Russia and all this other and reverse engineer everything anyone's ever given us because God forbid we play by the rules. But it's the same with North Korea. I mean. They stand more to gain by training a couple hundred people to steal shit from other countries than to have a couple thousand people working on problems day and night, right? So it's being cost effective. But it's a hard problem to find these people, and network forensics is the hardest thing to do, really, because a lot of doing a network attack is the last step is make sure that no one knew you were there. Aside from the actual side effects of whatever your malware was doing, make sure there is a log that shows you if you can. Make sure that whatever software you have isn't going to generate an error that's going to show where it is or any of this stuff. They've already made some of those mistakes, so obviously there's no way it's not North Korea. And
it seems like
my doubts that these people are ever going to be caught if they are from another country. If they're from North Korea, you can't stop them anyways. Right? You can't. They're not gonna send them here to face justice.
Well, yeah, you could go in after them.
Well, we don't do that for North Korea for dangerous reasons.
Do you think that North Korea, if North Korea launched a nuke at us,
they'll never have that capability. But
they do have that capability. They have nuclear missiles, don't they?
Yeah, that go 300 miles off of their coast and then fall into the ocean.
Okay, but I'm saying
they can't. They're fucking failures.
Well, then what's so dangerous about it that they might nuke South Korea?
Because they're a land bridge into China, and China will never. That's the whole reason China interfered in Korea in the first place.
Yeah,
was we got all the way up to the Yalu River, which is the border between North Korea and China, and we would have stopped there, but China was like, nope. Fuck that. And they sent millions of people with bolt-action rifles to fight tanks, and just get slaughtered. But eventually, inexorably pushing Westmoreland down to the 38th parallel. It's... Any attack on North Korea turns into an attack on China and probably Russia.
Do you think so? Do you think that either of those countries still want to be associated with the fucking insanity that is North Korea? China doesn't
want to... outright, but they can't afford not to, covertly because, again, land bridge. If North Korea falls to South Korea is a staunch ally of ours, right? In any world where North Korea is knocked out of the equation, China will either take it over and just turn it into a buffer state and be North Korea again, or World War III. Which sucks because if there's anyone who needs to be completely wiped off the face of the earth,
yeah,
it is 100% the fucking North Korea.
Well, not the people of North Korea. I feel bad that the people in North Korea actually have it pretty shitty. There's 10 people.
No, it's not pretty shitty.
Fucking it up for
it's
millions.
Literally the worst.
Yeah.
Place to be in the world.
And there's what? Let's say that there's probably less than 100 people in the North, the North Korean government probably constitutes.
Well, the government doesn't matter. It's the military and it's Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, so less than 100 people, maybe less than 50.
There's 20 generals and there's Kim Jong-un, and those people all get to eat, and the rest of the country doesn't.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's so interesting to me with the interview, because it is almost something that people would be like, this should be done anyways. Like, we should assassinate Kim Jong-un because he's kind of an asshole.
That's the thing, is unfortunately official policy in the United States is that you don't assassinate people.
That's
even
true.
though we do it all the time.
Yeah.
We assassinated Osama bin Laden 100%.
Well, yeah.
But it's the weird thing of the political definition of assassination is like killing someone who's a non-militant aggressor, or something like that. But if you targeted killings, that's okay, and that's just killing a militant aggressor. And make the case all you want. I don't know that Osama bin Laden ever fired a gun at anyone and killed them.
Well, he had a gun when they went in there, allegedly.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that he's ever used it before. There's no evidence for that. I'm glad he's dead, by the way.
Yeah.
I want to make it...
You sound like a sympathizer,
I want to make
Addison
it very
Waldo.
clear. I'm not an Osama bin Laden apologist, but from a legal standpoint, they're aside from inflammatory remarks and somewhat explicitly taking responsibility for 1911.
For the M1911.
Yeah, for John Browning's greatest creation. I don't know that there's any proof that he ever himself killed an American with his own hands. So that's part of the debate about when that happened is an assassination or is a targeted killing. And I mean, it's easy to convince people it was a targeted killing because he ostensibly killed 3,000 people, but he didn't pull the trigger. So, and sometimes it's semantic shit like that gets Hamas off the terror list in the EU. But what are you gonna do?
Do you think that in the interview they actually kill Kim Jong-un?
We'll never know.
Don't, because I think what ends up happening at the end of that movie is they become best friends with him.
I was gonna say that too. I have a sneaking suspicion
that like everyone in North Korea is happy. Like,
well, yeah, just consider the. No, I mean you can be sure that it's not that everyone in North Korea is happy, but I would assume that a lot of the jokes once they got into North Korea were going to be how shitty North Korea is. But it's the pagan Min thing, right, from Far Cry 4. Like, you show up in this place that's ruled by a horrible tyrant, ostensibly in pagan Min's case, but like everyone else's life is shitty. But if you're at the top, you are literally living like a king. Would you pass that up? Really?
I mean, so is your thing that Seth Rogen and James Franco...
They would get there.
And they're like, well, we'll stay.
Well,
like,
the Dennis Rodman thing, right? I mean, he goes and he's probably eats the finest food. I mean, Kim Jong-il had McDonald's flown from Japan to North Korea.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he has ways of getting what he wants. I bet you eat some pimp-ass fucking food and have a very nice life living in the palace of the Kim family.
But... Well, see, what I think ends up happening, because these are the same people who made a movie wherein the entire world ended and then they went up to heaven and partied with the Backstreet Boys and had unlimited weed. Like, that was the ending of their of this. That was the ending of one of their movies. Yeah. I think what happens at the end of that movie is that they're going to assassinate Kim Jong-un, and it's Un, right, not Il.
Il's dead.
Un's new one. So they're like about to, and then Seth Rogen is like, "Hey man, like we don't have to do this. Like
we don't have to do this.
Yeah, it's like we could actually all be friends, you know. And like Kim Jong-un, the people here are really miserable. Like you can do something about that." And he's like, "You're right. I should do something about it.
I should do something."
And
then
they fucking party to NSYNC and pop champagne bottles, and everything is happy at the end.
And I mean, more to the point too, I don't know that they've ever killed anyone in their movies together. James Franco and Seth Rogen, right?
Pineapple Express. Didn't they kill someone in that?
Kind of.
They shot Danny McBride, right? But he survived.
That was the bad guys shot Danny McBride.
Yeah.
But I thought that the guys in that may have died by accident. But they don't kill out of aggression.
Yeah,
right?
Seth Rogen and James Franco.
Whereas this is the CIA asking, and I'd be curious as to what plot device they use for, like, why would you say yes to that? Because I wouldn't say yes. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not going to lose my life for that.
Isn't there, like, let's watch the trailer. Perhaps the trailer will tell us more. Because isn't it something? They're journalists. That's what it is. They're journalists.
Well, I understand they're journalists, but what is the CIA gonna do to entice them to do it? Right? Are they gonna give them money? Is it
The interview final trailer 3 weeks ago from Sony Pictures Entertainment? Meet Kim Jong-un. Come on, they become best friends with Kim Jong-un. That happens. But I mean, it just seems to me like that's what would end up happening. So apparently they just agree to do it because maybe the government like fucking blackmails them. They're like, if you
it could just be like,
don't
you're not
do
gonna
it,
go,
or you're never coming back. Like,
well, it'll just be you will revoke your visa to do that if you don't.
Yeah, if
comply.
they don't do it. Because I could
Which
see
for
it.
a journalist, that would suck.
Yeah.
I have to say though, I don't know that I like the version of James Franco where he plays like a retard. You know what I'm saying?
I like. Well, that's what he played in Pineapple Express. He played a stoner retard.
Not a retard though.
Yeah.
Like that guy. I mean, maybe it's just the jokes, but it's overly juvenile for the characters that I perceive for him. But he's also one of my favorite actors. So.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting and it's unfortunate. And I hope that they release it later. I hope that a free version of it somehow comes online because and that's the thing. So the hackers have the hacked version of it. So they're probably not going to release it online because they didn't want Sony to show it in the first place.
Yes, but what better way to completely destroy Sony than to release all that for free, right? I mean, they've already said that they're going to have another bomb coming on Christmas, RE Data, so there's nothing to say that they won't do that.
Could happen. All right.
Well,
that's an hour 20
for today.
Yeah, that's an hour 20. That's not bad. I'm Steve.
I'm Addison. And have a good night, America.
Boom. And there it is. Amazing. That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the inaugural episode of the SAK Inc. podcast. I think that's what we're going to end up calling it, just the SAK Inc. podcast. It represents everything well. I think we'll see. We're still tossing around, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. So this has been episode 1, the interview. Don't forget Facebook.com/SAK Incorporated, Twitter.com/SAK Incorporated, Instagram.com/SAK Incorporated. Find us on YouTube, SAK Incorporated. Leave a comment and subscribe. Like us, follow us, send us feedback. Send us an email at sakincpodcast@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. That is all, and we will see you next week. Good evening, America.